WPI series respectively. We have with us Chief Statistician of India and Secretary, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Professor T.C.A.Anant, Secretary, DIPP Shri Ramesh Abhishek ji. Extend a warm welcome to you both, sir. Friends, first Secretary DIPP will give opening remarks, which will be followed by a brief PowerPoint presentation. Thereafter, the Secretary, Dr.T.C.A.Anant, will make his part of the opening remarks, followed by a brief PowerPoint presentation. Then we will take some questions. My request is kindly, as usual, follow the points of order. Raise the placards that are kept in front of you. I'll call out. I also request you to kindly keep your mobiles on a switch off or silent mode. Over to Secretary DIPP.
Thank you. Very good afternoon. The government revises wholesale price index from time to time to keep pace with the changing structure of the economy. The revision is carried out in terms of new items, deletion of obsolete items, as well as significant increase in the number of quotations taken to compute the index. WPI has been revised 6 times since 1942, and this is the 7th revision that is being carried out. This revision is based on the recommendations of the working group, which was headed by late Dr. Soumitra Chaudhary. The working group has done the painstaking task of making the WPI series this time more comprehensive and conceptually robust. Significant contribution was also made by the 5 subgroups set up under the working group. The base year of this WPI is now revised to a base of 2011-12. In the new WPI series, significant improvement in the concepts, coverage, and methodology has been made. One significant conceptual change has been the exclusion of indirect taxes for compilation of indices. This will make the WPI closer to producer price index conceptually and be in alignment with international best practices. Another major initiative this time is to put in place a high-level technical review committee which has been set up to recommend appropriate methodological intervention to continuously improve coverage and quality of data to capture changes in the economy. The base year 2011-12 has been chosen in order to align the WPI series with other macro variables like GDP and IIP. The gap in revision of the base year is mainly because the process of revision involves collection of data from diverse sources such as annual survey of industries, which comes out with a lag. Also equally challenging is collection of price data, in particular for manufacturing sector. The series also is finalized after due consultation with all the stakeholders. We hope that the new series of WPI will provide us with better and more accurate estimates of inflation at wholesale level and would facilitate timely policy intervention as and when necessary. Now I'll ask my colleague to make a quick presentation on the main features and the various components and the results of the new WPI series.
Good evening. As Sir has already mentioned in the opening remarks, let me straight away go to the presentation. As you know, the wholesale price index captures the average change in the wholesale prices, and it is one of the oldest price indices in India, dating back to 1942 and had 6 revisions, which Sir said, and this is the 7th revision based on the recommendations of the late Dr. Soumitra Chaudhary committee. Now let us look at the key features of this index. First, the definition of wholesale price. Now, the existing formula, as you may be knowing, is that we consider the basic price, which is the ex-factory price as far as the manufactured products are concerned, the ex-mine price as far as minerals are concerned, and the mandi price as far as agricultural items are concerned. Added to that, the indirect tax, that is excise duty for manufactured products, minus the trade discount. The new formula which would be used from this new series is that we are not going to consider the indirect taxes. So this will be one of the major changes of wholesale price index that is going to come. Now, this is going to have a few important effects. One is that this will make the WPI, it will be insulated from the effects of fiscal policy, and the continuity and the compatibility of the WPI will continue even after the GST is introduced, as and when it is introduced. You know that the nominal estimates of the IIP and GDP, they are deflated by the WPI. This deflation process would also be more compatible and more appropriate, since these macroeconomic aggregates, they are valued at basic prices, which does not include product tax. Now the deflator will also not be including that, so it will be more accurate. The weighting structure is based on the net traded value, which is the same as is being done in the current series as well. However, there's a slight change in the compilation methodology. The item level indices this time will be computed using the geometric mean, as is currently being done in the case of All India CPI. Now, this is the snapshot of the comparative number of the weights, the number of quotations, and the items. As you can see, there's been a slight change in the weight of the primary articles. It has slightly increased. This is partially attributable to the fact that the weight of petroleum, crude petroleum, and natural gas has increased from 0.9 to around 2.4. There's a slight decline in the weight of manufactured products, and the fuel and power also, there's been a decline. Overall, the number of items has increased from 676 to 697, even though that looks not very significant, but we have done a lot of rejigs. So for instance, in manufacturing, we have added around 173 items, deleted 135. There are 391 common items. And even the common items that are there, they are with more revised specifications from factories taken from more recent annual survey of industry, annual survey of industries. This is in brief, the common items. They account for around 85% weight of the new series. The new items around 14.22, and the dropped items. Now, the basis for deletion and addition of items, as you know, is based on their relative importance in the structure of the economy, in the commodity basket as a whole. Now, the salient features of the new series of WPI. Let's look at the primary articles first. Now, in case of food articles, for instance, we'll see that the prices of the seasonal fruits and vegetables will now be available for a much longer period. We have added 7 new fruits, 9 new vegetables. You can read them there. And even the ones that are already there, like, for instance, tomato, which is now available for 8 months. In the new series, it will be available for 12 months. Cauliflower, which is available for around 6 months, will be available for 8 months. So we have tried to increase the period for which the prices will be available now. In case of minerals, we have added 3. You can see copper concentrate, lead concentrate, and garnet. We have removed some, and the decision to remove some of them, mainly the ones which are in italics, the gypsum, kaolin, dolomite, barytes, and steatite, was driven by the fact that these are now minor minerals under the MCDR rules and are therefore not collected by our main source agency, the Indian Bureau of Mines. We have added natural gas in the crude petroleum section because of its increasing importance. Now, in the fuel and power group, the major change is that the index for non-coking coal in the coal group, that will be trifurcated into 3 categories based on the gross calorific value. This is to take into account their differential trends of the various grades of non-coking coal. Coke has been deleted again because of its declining importance. In the mineral oil section, we have added petroleum coke, again, which has been, whose consumption and production has both been increasing significantly in the recent past, and LDO, again, because its production has been declining. In electricity, we have made some important changes. There is a conceptual change there. Now we'll have a 1-item group for electricity, as compared to the current practice of having 5 separate indices to reflect the use-based retail, based on retail tariff, covering the agriculture, commercial, industrial, and domestic sectors. So instead of that, we are now going to have the monthly average rate of sale of power of around 49 generating stations selected from all over the country, covering hydro and thermal. This change has been done because WPI is supposed to capture the prices at the bulk transaction level. So this will make it more aligned with the concept of wholesale price index. In the manufacturing product basket, we have aligned it with the national industrial classification. So in place of 12, we will have 22 groups now. This will further help in, first of all, you will get more disaggregated data at the 2-digit level. Secondly, it will also facilitate deflation of nominal aggregates. A new WPI food index will also be will be compiled on a monthly basis. This, along with the food price index, which is brought about by CPI, will help in effective monitoring of food inflation at the wholesale level. As Sir said, we have this time a significant feature is that we have a high-level technical review committee under the chairmanship of Secretary DIPP with members including Secretary Mosby, Chief Economic Advisor, Ministry of Finance, Principal Economic Advisor, DIPP, which will look into the fact that of substituting obsolete items with more recent items, substitution of specification. You know that one of the major problems is that specifications keep changing of items, electrical items in general and all that. So to keep the series more relevant, more compatible with the current trends, this high-level technical review committee will provide the technical guidance that is required and also will guide us methodologically for inclusion of new and important items, exclusion of old items from the existing basket during the lifetime of the series. These are the data sources which, for instance, we have a new data source, the National Dairy Development Board for milk and milk products, which will give a wider coverage. Natural gas prices will be taken from Gas Authority of India Limited. And Mangalore refinery has been added to just increase the geographic coverage. Now, this is the broad result. Now, before you interpret the results, please remember that because of the significant conceptual changes that have undergone in this new series, statistically, the two series are not that way comparable. Having said that, because you know the two important things, the excise duty is no longer there, which is a very important departure from all the previous WPI series, and also the definitional change in electricity and some other items that we have mentioned. They are not per se comparable, but even then we have done a comparison between these two series, and there is some divergence. So the first thing to note here is that the trends are broadly similar, whether in all commodities or in fuel and power, all in manufacturing or in primary articles, but there is a slight decline in the rate of inflation computed by in the new series. And that is attributable once to the change in base year, to the change in the weights of the items, inclusion of new items, deletion of old items. Even for common items, as I said, new specifications have been added, new sources have been added. So those actually account for the change. The change in fuel and power, that is driven by the removal of excise duty. As you have seen that the excise duty in fuel, especially the mineral oil items, have been increasing. And since the new series does not take into account the excise duty, so there is a slight divergence there. Now let's look at the graphs here. The red one shows the inflation computed using the 2004-5, that's the outgoing series. The blue one is using the inflation computed using the new series. So as you can see that they're aligned, but there is a slight divergence, especially after October 15, and that is attributable to the factors that we just mentioned, that it's shifting of the base, because this is a fixed base last price index. So inclusion of new items, updation of specifications, and increase in number of source agencies. The primary articles, as you can see, is pretty well aligned. There's not much to say about that. The fuel and power group, there is an overall decline, first of all. And inter se also, there is a change in the weights among the common items that are there. Petcoke has been added, LDO has been deleted, and there's a steady increase in excise duty for mineral items from 2015. The sharp spurt that you see there is perhaps a reflection of the base effect, because around January 2016, there was a dip. And you know that inflation is calculated on a year-on-year basis. So for a particular month, it is calculated over the corresponding month of the previous year. And also, most importantly, electricity prices, they are very different. Now we are actually capturing the electricity price at the wholesale level. Prior in the outgoing series, because of data constraints, we did not have recourse to that, so we used a retail tariff as a proxy. The manufactured product group, this is the comparative trend in the manufactured product basket, which again is trend-wise, it's similar, but again, the divergence or the gap that you can see is again attributable to the shift in the structure that I told you, that 135 items have been dropped, 173 new items have been added, and even the common ones are with more recent specifications, newer sources. So those account for the change. This is the food inflation, which is the WPI food index that we are bringing out. It's a derived index which takes into account the food articles and the food product. So this I'll just skip through, I'll discuss. So you will get the press release for the new series of WPI, the monthly WPI from April 2012. All of these will be uploaded in the website of the Economic Advisor. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that presentation. Now I request Secretary Dr. T.C.A.Anant to make his opening remarks.
Thank you. I'll also be very brief. As you're aware, IIP is also being revised alongside with WPI. The process which was followed was exactly the same. In fact, this time DIPP and MOSPI had coordinated very closely for the revision of these two series. So expert committee under the chairmanship of Dr. Soumitra Chaudhary was set up also for IIP, partly because there is a considerable degree of synergy in the work of these two series, and we decided to exploit the synergy in both the revision process and as far as possible in the data collection process as well. The revision follows similar practices to the past. As you are aware, IIP has also been revised many times in the past, and this revision has been taken with the same objectives in mind: to update the item basket, update reporting entities, and to bring the coverage more in line with the current consumption patterns and production patterns being revealed through the recent ASI data of recent years. The principal elements to the change are updating the item basket and weighting structure conforming to the structure of the economy in 2011-12, adoption of the National Industrial Classification 2008 as against the National Industrial Classification of 2004. The adoption of the new industrial classification has meant that certain items which were there in the old series are present in the new series but are appropriately reclassified, either by splitting up old items or by combining old items into single new items as per the changes in the NIC. There has also been changes in the items due to the changes in the production structure, where old items which are no longer important in the production value have been dropped. New items which are important in production value have been included. Detailed lists of the items dropped and included are there in the press release. The weight structure has been rationalized to reflect the current value of production. And the effort has been made to broad-base data collection so as to ensure that we get a much larger collection of establishments from which data is collected in the new series. These are all common elements which are being there, and like with WPI, we are introducing for the first time ongoing review process under a technical review committee, similar structure to what was being done in the case of WPI. There will be a technical review committee in IIP as well, whose mandate is to review the item basket, the reporting entities, the method of coverage, and so on and so forth, so as to ensure that the series remains more relevant through the years in which it will be in operation. I won't take more time about this, but I think it's important to, when you examine these results, to keep in mind that the updation, the major differences in results which you will be seeing arise out of both the changes in the item basket, specifications of the items, the weighting structure, and also simply the fact that because we are taking a more up-to-date list of entities from which data is being captured, entities which are more relevant at the time of data collection, which was started in 2011, have been included in this series. We have also made a number of small changes which will be described in the presentation. I'll request my colleague, Mrs. Lakshmi, to make the presentation at this weekend.
Good evening to all. This is the release of new series of All India IIP with base 2011-12. Though with the before we go for the new series, let us just go through in brief what are the earlier series. So the current series, presently what we are using The base year, as we all know, is 2004-5. It's a short-term indicator which measures the production for every month based on the data of the base period. The comparison base period is 2004-5. For getting this series, we use the data comes from 15 source agencies. The major source is the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion for the manufacturing sector. For the mining sector, the source is the IBM, Indian Bureau of Mines. And for the electricity, it is Central Electricity Authority. For the major manufacturing sector, apart from DIPP, we have other source agencies like Coal Controller, Directorate of Sugar, Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, and Tea Board, Coffee Board, etc. The classification, what we use for the data is the NIC 2004, National Industrial Classification 2004. This is based on the International Standard Industrial Classification, that Rev 3.1. So, but that time this was the latest classification available, so we used the NIC 2004 in the base year. So, the dissemination, every 12th of every month we release the series. 12th of every month we release the series with a lag of 6 weeks. And then the use is GDP uses as a short-term indicator we release every month. So, GDP uses these growth rates for their manufacturing GDP estimates. So, the sectoral coverage in the series are mining 14%, manufacturing 75%, electricity is 10%. The major chunk share is for the manufacturing sector. The item groups, which are this one, those items are many, more. We make the groups. The mining as one group, manufacturing as 397, and electricity as one. And this is all for the present series, 2004-5 series. So the base revision we have done around 7-8 times. The 37 was the first release, then 46, 51, 56, and the latest base revision was done in 2004-5 after 93-94. The revision is essential because over the years, the production pattern changes, consumption pattern changes, technological changes are there. So it is essential to change the item basket because items get changed. Accordingly, the weights are also to be changed. So why we choose the year for any base year, the criteria is the other macro indicators, GDP, CPI, and the comparisons will be easy if we use the same base year for all the indicators. So the base revision, when we wanted to do the base revision by observing the changes, we set up a committee under late Dr. Soumitra Chaudhary, who was a former member Planning Commission. And the committee has formed many subcommittees and examined in detail the various aspects of the methodology. And finally, the committee has given the report with all the recommendations. And then the methodology was shown to National Statistical Commission, and which has accepted it. And then finally, the report and the methods have gone to Committee of Secretaries chaired by the Cabinet Secretary. And then we have finalized the series. So let us see the major changes. The details are all available in the press release and the website. So major changes I'll tell. The selection of items is done at a NIC 3-digit level. In the earlier series, it was done at 2-digit level. This is to increase the details of the product level items. At NIC 3-digit level, we get a detailed item. So that was the decision, and NIC 3-digit level was used for selection of items. Then 407 item groups against earlier 399 in 2004-5 base. The 405 item groups for manufacturing sector, and 1 item group for mining, and 1 item group for electricity sector. NIC 2008 is the latest one available for at the 2011-12 series. So this NIC 2008 is based on the ISIC Rev 4. By this time, ISIC Rev 3.1 is they have changed it to ISIC Rev 4. So this NIC 2008 is based on ISIC Rev 4. The electricity generation, the change is the renewable sources energy is captured, which was not there in the series of 2004-5. So the other changes in the capital goods, work in progress concept is added because at the capital goods, they take a lot of time. In a 1 month, the one unit may not be completed, but lot of work must have been done for producing that one item. So the work in progress concept is introduced so that before finishing the goods, capital goods, some progress can be taken, production can be captured from that. The source agencies, earlier there were 15, now there are 14 agencies. This is because the salt, now we are getting from DIPP. Earlier the salt was coming from Salt Commissioner, Office of Salt Commissioner. Now because of the Salt Cess Act, now they have stopped giving us the data, then DIPP is giving the data. The increase in number of factories, because earlier the number of factories comparatively to 2004-5 series, DIPP for manufacturing sector has increased their factories, and that is an improvement for the reporting data. And in the mining sector, mineral conservation and development rules 2016, some 27 non-metallic minerals, they are not under the purview of IBM, so IBM has stopped that reporting. So accordingly, the mining sector has been changed. So the other classification, that NIC classification is according to activity, and according to use, there is another classification that we call as use-based classification. According to use-based classification, the categories are primary, intermediate, capital, then consumer durables and non-durables. Infrastructure is an additional classification we have added this time. In the earlier series, that was not there. Earlier, there was basic goods. Now, in place of, not exactly in place of that, but the category is changed as primary goods. Then WPI with 2011-12. Earlier, we were using the WPI deflator of 2004-5. Now, since they have also changed the base year, the current series of WPI are being used as deflator wherever we get the production value in value terms. So, as in WPI, for IIP also, technical review committee to review the changes in between before the next revision. In case any changes are required, the committee is empowered to suggest, and then we will take it again to committee of secretaries. So the items and weights, let us see in both the old and new series. The common items are 258, and new items are 149. Dropped items are 124. And the sectoral weights are 14 earlier for mining sector. Now also it is 14, just 14.1 to 14.3. And in the manufacturing sector, there is an increase, 75.5 to 77.6. The electricity, 10.3, it is reduced slightly to 7.9. This revision of weights is based on the changes in the production pattern. The weights are assigned based on the ASI gross value of added as per the ASI data. So when we compare the two series, actually, the care has to be taken by considering these factors. Because exactly the two series cannot be combined because the item basket is changed. Even for the common items, we cannot exactly compare, the weights are changed. So care has to be taken while comparing the new series and old series. Even when you compare the electricity, the coverage is changed, apart from the other things. So rationalization of sectoral weights is done overall weight diagram based on GDP with base 2011-12. And as usual, WPI 2011-12 are used as deflators. In the earlier series, 2004-5 is used as a deflator. So all these things have to be taken care while comparing the two series. Now let us see the annual growth rates. The mining sector, it was 5.3 in the current series, and old series it is 1.6. And everywhere we can see there is an increase. That is because of inclusion of the latest new items which are currently in use and by deleting the old items. If we see the graphs, there is a peak in March 2013. And that is because of in the March 2012, we take the average, 2011-12 base year, we take the average of all the months. And the growth rates are based on the month to month. So March 2012, exactly we cannot compare with March 2011 because March 2011 data is the average of all the months. So this is for mining. Earlier was the overall growth, and this is the mining. In mining, the difference is because of the mining sector coverage. Earlier 61 items were there. Now there are 29 in the new series. And moreover, the weightage pattern is changed. The petroleum increase in weight, natural and gas, decrease in weight of petroleum and increase in the natural gas. So fall in production coal and iron was observed in 2012-13. So in the manufacturing, the basic reason for the higher growth rates is shifting of base to recent period and increase in number of factories by DIPP and inclusion of new items. So in electricity, as I have told, electricity generation from renewable sources, and this data is available from April 2014 onwards. So that is why you can see from April onwards, there is a higher production growth rate. And all the details are available in our website and in the press release. And for further clarifications, you can contact us through email, IIP CSO. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lakshmi. for the presentation. We'll take questions now. It will be easy if you indicate to whom you are addressing the question.
सर मैं लक्ष्मण CNBC आवाज़ से, मेरा सवाल WPI को लेकर के है। WPI में एक जो महत्वपूर्ण बात कही गई वो ये है कि इसमें इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स को इंक्लूड नहीं किया जा रहा है इस बार, क्योंकि GST लागू होने के बाद सबसे ज़्यादा सवाल इस बात को लेकर है लोगों के मन में कि महंगाई बढ़ेगी या घटेगी। तो क्या GST लागू होने के बाद GST के इम्पैक्ट को WPI रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा होगा कि नहीं?
अगर आप ये होलसेल प्राइस इंडेक्स को देखें तो ये होलसेल के स्टेज पे जो प्राइस के चेंजेस होते हैं उसको कैप्चर करता है। चूँकि बेस ईयर में भी जो होलसेल प्राइस थी उसमें भी टैक्सेस इंक्लूडेड नहीं है, और बाद में भी जो होलसेल प्राइस ली जा रही है उसमें भी टैक्सेस नहीं है, तो टैक्सेस का इम्पैक्ट शुरू से लेकर अंत तक इसमें से निकाल दिया गया है। और ऐसा करके ये जो प्रोड्यूसर प्राइस इंडेक्स का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है कि प्रोड्यूसर को कितना प्राइस मिलता है उसके हम लोग नज़दीक जा रहे हैं। तो ये प्रैक्टिस ग्लोबल बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस है कि जो फिस्कल पॉलिसी के इम्पैक्ट है उससे प्राइस होलसेल प्राइस चेंजेस को अलग किया जाए, तो वो इससे हम लोगों ने इसको लागू कर दिया है।
आपके सवाल में एक चीज़ और ऐड करूंगा, क्योंकि GST फाइनल पॉइंट ऑफ सेल पे कैप्चर होगी। आप उसका GST का मेथडोलॉजी देखेंगे तो GST का इफेक्ट हम CPI के थ्रू कैप्चर कर पाएंगे इन सो फार एज द फाइनल पॉइंट ऑफ सेल गुड्स आर कंसर्न। तो कुछ हद तक CPI और WPI के डिफरेंसेस में आपको कुछ हद तक GST का इम्पैक्ट दिखाई पड़ेगा।
सर मैं आलोक प्रियदर्शी हूँ जी बिजनेस से। सर देखा जा रहा है कि ऑन एन एवरेज यहाँ पर 10 साल के बाद ये बेस ईयर चेंज हुआ है, लेकिन इस बार देख रहे हैं कि करीब 8 साल में ही चेंज हो गया है। तो एक तो ये थोड़ा जल्दी चेंज करने का क्या फ़ायदा होगा या क्या नुकसान होगा, और दूसरी चीज़ ये है कि जब भी ऐसे सीरीज चेंज किए जाते हैं, चाहे वो WPI का हो चाहे IIP का हो, तो लोगों का ये कहना हो, जो इकोनॉमिस्ट है वो ये कहते हैं कि सरकार जो डाटा को कुछ छुपाना चाहती है या बताना चाहती है, उसके लिए आप लोगों का क्या तर्क होगा?
इस पे मैं ऐसा बोलता हूँ, हमारी कोशिश ये है कि जिस तरह की फिक्स्ड बेस सीरीज हैं इनको हम ज़्यादा फ्रीक्वेंटली रिवाइज करें। रिकमेंडेशन NSC की भी और इंटरनेशनली भी ये है कि इनको हर 5 साल में रिवाइज करा जाए। तो हमने कोशिश वही करी है और इसलिए इस टाइम पिछली बार के मुताबिक थोड़ा सा जल्दी कर दिया है, और हमारी कोशिश है कि जितना फ्रीक्वेंटली हो सके करेंगे। दूसरा, पुरानी सीरीज होने पे एक कंप्लेंट आती है कि वो सीरीज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव नहीं है, क्योंकि जिस एंटिटी से डेटा ले रहे हैं वो पुरानी हो गई है, कई बार वो प्रोडक्शन में नहीं है, या जो आइटम ले रहे हैं वो ऑब्सोलीट हो गया है। इसलिए सीरीज की रिवीजन की जरूरत है, और इस बार हमने उसको मैनेज करने के लिए एक परमानेंट स्टैंडिंग रिव्यू अरेंजमेंट के भी डिटेल्स दिए हैं, जिसके डिटेल आपको प्रेस नोट में मिलेंगे।
ये जो कोशिश रहती है सरकार की, उसके बारे में बताइए सर।
ऐसा है, सरकार की कोशिश बढ़ाने घटाने की नहीं होती। सरकार की कोशिश होती है कि जो इंडेक्स है वो जहां तक हो सके करंट प्रोडक्शन स्ट्रक्चर को एक्यूरेटली रिफ्लेक्ट करे, और जो जहां से हम डेटा कलेक्ट करें वो करंट प्रोडक्शन और सेल के मुताबिक सही हो।
इसमें थोड़ा ऐड करना चाहूँगा कि जो भी ये नई सीरीज बनी है या जब भी ऐसा कोई नया काम होता है तो ये बहुत ही रिगरसली टेक्निकल एक्सपर्ट्स के सुपरविजन में होता है। और अभी जो IIP के डेटा कलेक्ट कर रहे थे, जो DIPP एक मेजर सोर्स ऑफ कलेक्शन ऑफ IIP डेटा रहा है, तो हम लोगों ने देखा था कि बहुत सारी फैक्ट्रियाँ बंद हो चुकी थी जहाँ से कोई डेटा कई सालों से नहीं आ रहा था। और 2004-05 के बाद से ऐसी बहुत सी नई नई फैक्ट्रियाँ हम लोग सबको पता है कि चालू होती हैं, लेकिन वो डेटा हम यहाँ से कैप्चर नहीं कर पा रहे थे। तो वो बिल्कुल भी एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव सैंपल नहीं था। अच्छा, किस सोर्स से कितने डाटा कलेक्ट किया गया है वो सारे के सारे उपलब्ध हैं। तो अगर कोई भी आप लोग जानना चाहें तो वो सब सारी चीज़ पब्लिक डोमेन में दी जा सकती हैं, अवेलेबल है, कोई भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। तो हम लोग की ये कोशिश है कि आज अर्थव्यवस्था का जो भी स्ट्रक्चर है या ढांचा है उसको पूरी तरह से ये नए सीरीज रिफ्लेक्ट करे। बल्कि मैं सोचता था कि आप ये पूछेंगे कि इसमें इतना विलम्ब क्यों होता है। आज हम 2017 में हैं और 2011-12 के बेस पे हम क्यों कर रहे हैं, वो शायद एक ज़्यादा अच्छा एक सवाल होगा। और इसी को हम लोग कैप्चर करने के लिए ये टेक्निकल कमेटी बनाए हैं ताकि इस बीच में अगर कोई सोर्सेस बंद हो जाते हैं, डेटा के नए सोर्सेज आते हैं, कोई आइटम रेलिवेंट नहीं रहते हैं, कोई नए आइटम ऐड करना चाहते हैं, तो वो कमिटी एक रिगरस एनालिसिस करके बेस्ड ऑन साउंड डेटा ऐसा डिसीजन ले सकती है, ताकि इकोनॉमी में जो चेंजेस हो रहे हैं वे प्रॉपर्ली रिफ्लेक्ट हों.
Sir, this is Surbhi from the Hindu Business Line. My question is to both of you, Mr. Abhishek and Dr. Anant. When in the new series of CPI as well as GDP, sir, we were seeing some divergence in the data vis-a-vis the old series of IIP and the WPI, sir. So particularly relating to manufacturing. So, sir, will the new series of both WPI and IIP, will they take care of these divergences?
Not quite sure what you're referring to, but let me. WPI and CPI divergences have more to do with the fact that one is a consumer price index, but from the final price point of sale, the other is at the wholesale point of sale. So these are very different indices, and those divergences reflect certain underlying characteristics of the market where goods are being traded and sold. One concern which people had been noting is the huge gap between the IIP growth rates and the growth rates seen in both the annual survey of industries as well as in GDP pertaining to manufacturing. That will be somewhat narrowed. It is not completely eliminated because IIP continues to be a volume measure, whereas both in ASI and in GDP there are value-added concepts in use. GDP further takes data from an enterprise approach, whereas ASI takes from an establishment approach. All of these are factors for divergences between the different measures. But to a certain extent, because the IIP is more representative, and as the Secretary DIPP has just mentioned, takes account of many new factories which are in the production process which were not being taken into account in the old series, and excludes many factories which had stopped production but were included in the old series. For both of those reasons, IIP production in the new series will be more representative and closer to the estimates which we had seen, but there will be gaps.
Sir, Sapna from CNBC TV 18. Just in continuation to what you have just said, generally the IIP data is expected to be very volatile. You know, many a time we are not really able to rely on that. So under the new series, do you think that pain will be addressed to an extent? And second, there is no doubt that there is a big sharp fall in the inflation after the base revision in WPI. Also the way the weights have been restructured and the basket has been restructured. How would you really look at that? And third question last, 2.7% March IIP.
Just one by one. There are very few who are asking, so we'll give you a chance. Yeah.
In fact, I've forgotten what your questions were. But I think sorry. Yeah, volatility, right. Let me point out, and this is an observation I have made many times, there is an intrinsic volatility in output data which will continue to be maintained in IIP. Please understand, any index of output where we are collecting from a finite number of entities can be volatile because output at the entity level can be highly volatile. Entities can run into issues, they can be local factors, they can be labor trouble, they can be climatic factors, all of which can lead to very sharp changes in production at a particular location. All over the world, output measures of this type are more volatile and are inherently volatile. I have cautioned users that therefore do not read too much into month-to-month changes in industrial production indices, but in fact look for longer run series and, if possible, build from long-run trends which are visible in the data. This general caution will continue to be true even in the new series. What the new series has done is it has updated the item basket, the character of items, and the reporting entities. As a consequence of it, the overall coverage is much better. But the month-to-month change is an inherent characteristic of production data which will continue. The changes in the inflation rate in WPI are a consequence of the weighting diagram, item descriptions, and to partially correcting for the exclusion of taxes. The tax factor is an important factor, and many of you had in fact noted earlier that particularly where prices are being equalized due to imports, we were at some cases levying compensatory taxes to ensure that domestic prices did not fall as much. That part has been partly addressed because the taxes have been excluded in this.
But I think what you also referred to in volatility was one or two items whose production or no production made a big difference to the volatility of IIP. I think that should be taken care of, because that was a very unrealistic kind of assumption, and I think that should be taken care of.
Yeah, that gentleman.
Sir, it has been mentioned here that work in progress will be now captured in capital goods segment. So how exactly are you going to capture that data, and how effective, how accurate will that growth rate be?
The growth rate will be as accurate as before. The advantage here is that companies will be reporting to us for long gestation products which take more than 1 month to complete production. Will be reflecting it on an accrual basis on the amount of production which has taken place, or the share of production which has completed in a particular month on a value term. This will smoothen the capital goods series to some extent. As I pointed out, there are other sources of volatility because there is a high degree of volatility because of investment and demand specific characteristics at the individual establishment. Those may continue, but the volatility induced by the lumpiness of the production character will be reduced.
Yeah, that last row, last gentleman.
Sir, I'm Ashutosh from BTVI. It says that a new WPI food index will be compiled. So by when we may see this new index, and what will be the changes? What are going to be the changes?
The index is already compiled. It's there in the press release. And it's just that it will be reported in addition to what is being released in the press release every month. In addition to all the other data which will be given out, you'll also get a WPI food being released to you as well.
Actually, we have also shared with you in the folder as well as on our website a list of 26 questions that may be interesting or useful in relation to WPI, and you may also like to have a look at that. If there are more issues where you would like to know more, we'll be very happy to organize interaction with our technical experts as well.
On a similar note, a similar set of frequently asked questions and questions we have anticipated about the changes and its reasons are also there in the website of the various material along with IIP. You can take a look at all of those. They address there. I think from what I recall, the website also contains the report of the expert committee from which these changes have been written. The answers to the questions are derived to a large extent from the report of the expert committee.
Yeah, 109.
Meghna from INS. My question is, in addition to this one, the WPI food index and also the removal of indirect taxes, how do you think it will impact the WPI numbers in the coming few months?
See, the taxes have been taken out from the prices right from the base year. So now the taxes are not there whenever data is captured for checking the, reflecting in the index. The taxes are not taken into account. So the effect of taxes is not there at all. So that actually tells you the price at the wholesale level, free from the impact of any fiscal changes that may take place. So that is a purer form of wholesale price, which is closer to the producer price index.
Okay. Let me supplement this answer a little. I think many of you are aware that there has been a long-standing recommendation of various expert committees that we should move towards a producer price index as against a wholesale price index. India, in fact, is one of the few countries which is still producing a wholesale price index. This is a highly technical exercise, and there are many complex issues involved with this shift. DIPP has constituted a group which is looking into this work, but one of the elements required in order to move towards the producer price index would be to have data excluding taxes. This was also one of the suggestions which was there as part of the National Accounts revision, and some people had said that our deflators are incorrect because they incorporate taxes into them. We had pointed out at that time that this is an exercise which is underway, and as and when the new series of WPI will be approved, this correction will be made, and hence we are now in much greater compliance with international standards on the price deflators which are used in national accounts also.
Yes, Rita.
I mean, this is a question for both of you. The first one, you spoke about the review mechanism, but the permanent review mechanism. Now, as and when it sees certain discrepancies or changes, will that be incorporated right away, or so what we're saying is it's not going to wait for the next base year revision for changes to take place? Will it be done in the course of the series? The second question to Mr. Abhishek. Mr. Abhishek, the food index is not in this. There are no details.
It's on the website?
It's not in this.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it will be put up on the website.
It's already on the website, or it will be put up? It's already put up on the website. You can just check our website. So far as this technical review is concerned, actually this is meant to address the problem that till the next series comes out, in the meantime the changes in the economy are not captured. So this review committee is basically meant to address that problem. So whenever it feels that something should be changed, it will be changed immediately. We will not wait for the next base year.
And also we will certainly meet at least once every year to take stock of the series as it is performing. We will take note of the problems which are arising and try to address them. So in a sense, it's not that there is no certainty about how frequently it meets. It will meet at least once a year.
Yeah, 247.
Hello, sir. This is Shreya from Money Control. Wanted to know if services would be included anytime in the future, if that's the move ahead.
Speak into the mic, madam.
Actually, yeah. You're asking whether services are included or will be included in the WPI. Before services, we are actually working on a different index that hopefully will come out in the next few months. But then when the producer price index comes, services will be part of it. But right now in WPI, they are not captured.
Similarly, I should mention that there are separate efforts underway to generate indices of service production, and there has been work on them. Many of this work has been put out in the website of our ministry or in DIPP in some cases. Both of these are very complex technical exercises, and we are hoping that these will get stabilized and these indices will take recourse on their own. But both of these indices stand on their own merit as they stand now.
The major problem in taking out such indices is that need to have consistency and continuity of data. The data, collecting data from sources on a continuous basis is the really challenge. So that is the main problem in coming out with a new series. So that is what we are working on.
Any more questions? So if there are no questions, we will conclude the press conference. Thank you for being here. I thank the secretaries for their presence and time. Thank you. Please join us for tea on the 4th floor.